People in San Diego have one image of me. People in Texas have an image of me. People in New Orleans have an image of me. People in Miami have an image of me. People in Baltimore, people in Toronto, and most of them are different. People always try to put me in a box, and if I'm doing this and I'm doing this and I'm doing this, they don't know where to put me. It used to be irritating, just because someone could meet you and before they would get a chance to get to know you, they'll go find someone else's story about who I am. And for me personally, I just always think it's more interesting.
The eyes of Texas are upon you all the livelong day.
Texas is a place where football stars can become rock stars. In the 1940s, SMU's Doak Walker was so popular that Dallas's Cotton Bowl was expanded to accommodate the crowds who came to watch him play.
3
decades later, Earl Campbell, nicknamed the Tyler Rose after his East Texas hometown, went from local hero to Longhorn legend. Like Doak Walker, Campbell was a running back who not only achieved greatness, but also inspired it.
Get ready for a good season. 10-0, 14-0.
When I came on my recruiting trip to Texas, I was up in we had this room called the Tea Room where they had all these pictures of All-Americans all around, and right outside the Tea Room was a case with Earl Campbell's Heisman Trophy. When I walked by the trophy, I looked at it and I kind of got the sense that if I go to school here, I could probably get one of those. My freshman year, we had to pick an email address, and that was 1995 before email was like it is now. And I was thinking, my first email address, I'm like, what am I going to choose? And so I picked Heisman@utexas.edu. And, then I start playing and I kind of forget about all that stuff. My freshman year, we played Texas A&M, defense in the nation.
31 straight. The Aggies have won here. They've beaten the Horns 10 of their last 11 games.
Unofficial Texan.
Ricky Williams switched back to his high school number 34, a tribute to his two-sport idol, Bo Jackson.
6-0 on the run by Ricky Williams, whose scholarship is being paid for by the Philadelphia Phillies. He has already signed a baseball contract, and so because he's a professional in baseball, the Phillies pay for the scholarship, and they say, hey, come on back, man, you can do better in baseball.
Ricky spent 4 summers in the Phillies minor league system, where his success paled in comparison to what he was accomplishing in football. After his 3rd year in Austin, he was 1,900 yards away from Tony Dorsett's major college career rushing record. And he won the Doak Walker Award as the nation's best running back.
Doak sat down and we just started talking. I didn't have the experience of an older white guy, especially coming in and just having a conversation and having that much ease with me, and that blew me away. My image of what football was supposed to be or what football could be really matched what Doak was and what I wanted to be. Bigger than just the game of football, but to use that as a platform to do something even greater.
I would like to share with you a message we got today from the University of Texas, Ricky Williams. The news of the death of Doak Walker has saddened me greatly. I will be wearing Doak's number on my helmet in honor of him this weekend, and I'm dedicating my season to his memory.
We were playing Oklahoma in our annual game in the Cotton Bowl, and the saying is the Cotton Bowl is a house that Doak built. And so I just thought it would be a great way to honor him, what he meant to me, what he meant to the game of football, by wearing his number in the house that he built.
The eyes of Texas.
And after the game, I gave the game ball and my jersey to his family.
to jinx you, but if you win the Heisman this year, it's the 50-year anniversary of Doak Walker's Heisman Award.
Well, I mean, that'd be great to win it, 50-year anniversary, and I'm sure he'll be watching me accept it, and he'll be extremely proud of me. But I think the main thing that I want to do is win the Doak Walker again, because he told me that he wanted me to be the first one to win it twice, and that'd be something great that I could do for him and his family.
Ricky Williams, as a boy, didn't dream of playing in the NFL. He dreamed of playing college football. More than anything, Ricky wants to be talked about the same way people talk about Doak Walker. Well, he's well on his way, because Ricky Williams represents everything that is good about college football.
During his senior year pursuit of Dorsett's rushing record, Ricky became not just the most watched college football player of the season, but also one of the most celebrated of all time.
I like his hands. I like his footwork. I like, his size. I like that. He's like almost like an Earl Campbell type, but I think he's faster.
There's never been a runner like Ricky. There's never been a runner I know. Oh, there's never been a runner like Ricky. Horse Doak and Horse Tyler Rose.
As a freshman, I thought in a roundabout way I was looking at my little son,
Says Roger Clements, I know you recognize that. And who's that man behind those shades there? Is that Matthew McConaughey over there? 11 yards shy of the record. Williams breaks a hole. Williams had a record book. Ricky Williams runs to the Hall of Fame. Touchback. Ricky Williams, touchdown. And a standing ovation for the king of the rushers.
What's driven me so much of my life is to work to be the best. So I looked at the more attention I got, it just meant that I was on my road to being the best.
Ricky Williams of the University.
From the virtual Heisman in his email address to the real one in his hands, from winning his first Doak Walker to winning his second the next year, Ricky had run his way to the top of the charts. A place where the view is great, but the shelter is gone.
Kind of after I won the Heisman Trophy, it just was, okay, I'm supposed to go to the NFL, and so that's what I did. I didn't really have any expectations, and I didn't really understand how things worked.
Another native of San Diego, California, and from the University of Texas, please welcome Heisman Trophy winner, Ricky Williams.
One of the worst days in my life. I thought I deserved to be the first pick, especially after the kind of career I had. And then, as the draft started to go on, I wasn't even the first running back.
With the fourth choice in this draft, the Indianapolis Colts select Edgerrin James.
But actually, the trade made it better, because it's a cool story. I mean, people are still talking about the trade.
The trade was for the 5th pick of the 1999 draft. It belonged to Washington. But to get it, Saints head coach Mike Ditka agreed to give up the 6 picks he had in that year's draft, plus the Saints' 1st and 3rd round picks in 2000.
With the 5th pick in the draft, the New Orleans Saints select Ricky Williams, running back, University of Texas.
Our relationship from that point on didn't seem like a big deal between us, but the media made a big deal about it. They were going to do a cover story on the trade. We were in the limo on our way to the photo shoot. Coach Ditka says, I don't know how they got you to do this. He said, I never would have done it, but he said, let's make this work. It never crossed my mind that it was a big deal. I was maybe too young or too naive to know the difference, but I thought it was just something that would be funny and interesting.
Ricky Williams, where's your wedding dress? Ricky Williams is a lady! Whoa!
The focus on Ricky Williams only gained intensity. For a rash of preseason injuries he suffered, for his new habit of wearing his helmet during interviews, and perhaps most of all, for his incentive-based rookie contract.
Coach, there's a Rick Riley column in Sports Illustrated this week saying that Ricky was duped and fooled by the Saints. Thoughts on
what the hell does Rick Riley know about anything? Just because you got a pen and a pencil and a typewriter makes you an expert about things in life?
The story goes, I hired a rapper to do my contract, which isn't true. I hired No Limit Sports, which was owned by a rapper, Master P. He owned the agency, but there was actually a board-certified agent, Leland Hardy, who negotiated my contract.
Realize that they've got a once-in-a-lifetime back in Ricky Williams.
The contract that he negotiated for me would have made me the highest-paid rookie in the history of the NFL. And I said no to that, and I said, give me all that you can give me right now, and let me earn the rest. I'd always hear fans say that athletes were overpaid and all they care about is the money, and so I saw a perfect opportunity to show people that not all athletes are like that.
I consider it a signing bonus for what I did in college. He said, if I don't do well in pro, I don't deserve to make any money. So when Coach Ditka played, they got paid for what they play, how they played. So that's the way I want it to be with me. That ain't bad.
No. I can look back at it now as definitely like a initiation into adulthood. Almost overnight in the NFL, I was put on a pedestal, and I was supposed to be like this icon or this image of what a professional athlete was supposed to be. And I felt like I just got stuck trying to be someone else, and I forgot who I actually was. With everything that went on my rookie year, expectations, the contract, dealing with injuries.
That hurts, huh? What'd you put on it today?
The relationship I had with Coach Ditka is the one thing that I think helped me get through it.
Nobody wants to play more than him, believe me. As much as I want him to play, he wants to play more. And it's not about incentives, it's about honor.
I mean, he could tell that I was walking around and I wasn't very happy. So he calls me into his office, and the one thing I remember him saying was that I was too young, doing what I love and making a bunch of money. I have no reason to not be the happiest person on the planet.
Williams inside the 20, inside the 10, to the 5. He dives. The designated diver is in.
I remember the Carolina game. We had a pass where the fullback messed up, and I picked up the linebacker.
They want to knock the Saints out. Good block by Ricky Williams that time.
And after that play, Coach Ditka said, "That's a hell of a play, son. If you keep playing like that, you'll play this game for a long time." And that was the greatest compliment I've ever received, that someone saw more than just my running ability, but saw my football intelligence and my toughness and just appreciated who I was as a football player.
Good job, Rick. Good job.
He was fired after that season, and I think because I was married to Coach Ditka and the new guy came in.
You get all the running plays in?
It didn't go as smoothly as I would have liked it to go. And then to make it worse, the new regime didn't have a first-round pick, and they didn't have really any picks from the previous year because it was me.
By the end of his third season in New Orleans, Ricky had rushed for more than 3,000 yards and scored 18 touchdowns. He was demonstrating great value, and the Saints found a way to cash in on it.
Well, we're here to announce that the trade has been completed with the New Orleans Saints for Ricky Williams. This is not a trade for a player that we're hoping to get 1 or 2 years on. With a change of scenery and how we're going to utilize him, we feel his best years are ahead of him.
Miami sent New Orleans 2 first-round draft picks in exchange for Ricky Williams. In 2002, his first season with the Dolphins, Ricky started 16 games, rushed for a league-leading 1,853 yards, scored 17 touchdowns, and was named a first-team All-Pro.
He has put on a performance of incandescent elegance out here today.
Ricky Williams, tear off that jersey. Show us the big S on your chest.
Miami was a rebirth, but it was also where Ricky's labor pains started coming to light.
I would see you doing interviews, and you'd have your helmet on. You'd be looking down. You wouldn't have eye contact.
At that point in time, the media, we put in their microphones and the cameras in my face, and I didn't feel comfortable. So I felt like wearing a helmet kind of put some distance between me and the media.
Ricky, it hurt your career, didn't it?
Well, at the time, it did hurt my career, but I look at where I am now, and without going through those things, I wouldn't be where I am now.
2003 season was a rough season. We won 10 games in Miami, didn't make the playoffs. I got really beat up. I led the NFL in carries, and my body was falling apart. So I kind of told myself, when the season's over, I need to take a trip. So I, literally spun a globe, closed my eyes, put my finger down, and it was Melbourne, Australia. When I went to Melbourne, it happened to be the Australian Open going on. Maria Sharapova was just a kid. It was like her first big tournament. And her agent recognized me and gave me a pass, and I got to sit with the families and take pictures, and it was really, really awesome. Traveled around Australia. I was there for about 2 months. Ended up cutting my hair when I was over there. Just was ready for a change. And when I came back, I was at our banquet, our football banquet. And team doctor was there, and he had done surgery on me. And we were friends, he'd seen me all the time. And I walk up to him and say, "Hey, Doc." And he looks at me like, "Are you?" And he asked if I was a new player. And I was like, "It's Ricky." It was a wake-up call for me. I realized that most people didn't really see me or know me. It was more the image of me. And I don't blame people. When you're an icon, that's part of it.
Because of his dreadlocks, the NFL had in 2003 been forced to declare that it's legal to tackle a player by the hair, a verdict that became known as the Ricky Williams rule. It wasn't the only area of the rules with which Ricky intersected in Miami. In December 2003, he failed his second NFL drug test. The result was not made public at the time, though it came at a time of self-examination for Ricky.
So I started to look at it, and I said, okay, I led the NFL in attempts the past 2 years, and they really didn't go out and get a quarterback to help me, so I knew it's going to be all on me again. I could see, my mortality as a football player, that I'm not going to be able to do this much longer. And it just became obvious to me that playing football, for me, is not going to be fun, not something I'm going to enjoy, and it's time for me to do something different. And so I was so excited, I got home and I started calling all my closest friends, and I told them how excited I was about retiring. And all of them were like, "Are you crazy? What are you doing?" And so after, a couple of days of "you're crazy, what are you doing?" I started to modify my plan to, okay, well, maybe I'll just play one more season and then I'll ride off into the sunset. And one of the things I told myself is, if I fail another drug test, I'll retire this year instead of waiting one more year. And everyone, I think, can relate to this. Underneath, if there's something in your heart that you really don't want to do, you're going to find a way to get out of it.
Prior to the start of the 2004 season, Ricky failed a third drug test. 1 week before the start of training camp, he retired from the NFL and left the United States. The Dolphins claimed he was in breach of contract and began legal proceedings to make Ricky repay them more than $8 million.
People that know me know that I'm crazy a little bit, and I really didn't care. And that's what I said when I left, when I was in Australia. And I was like, well, if they want the money and they can come find me in India or wherever I am, then good for them. I mean, I had made peace with being a nomad the rest of my life.
After the 2003 season, Ricky Williams felt it was time to walk away from the game. But he didn't do it. Not until he failed a third NFL drug test, then retired 1 week before the start of training camp 2004.
The valuable lesson that I learned from all that is that the pain of any punishment that anyone can dole out on me is nothing compared to the pain of choosing against myself. Well, I chose against myself by not retiring when I knew I was done.
The first time?
The first time. And literally, like, I'm still recovering from the pain of what going about it that way caused. I mean, everywhere I go, people hear Ricky Williams and the next thing they think is marijuana or wasted talent. Ricky loves pot more than he loves football. I quit so that I could go smoke weed.
Yeah, that's in the obituary.
Yeah. At this point, it would be. Yeah.
But you're not pissed about it.
Well, I still have time to change it. And usually when you get pissed about something, you eliminate your ability to change it. I got suspended, I think, 2 or 3 times for doing drugs. No clap. And it's easier to talk about these things now because it's legal in a couple of states and people are talking about it. But one thing I want to go on record as saying, I never once said that people should smoke or that it's good or anything. I just didn't comment on it.
Did you smoke pot in Texas?
No. Not to the NFL.
Mr. Ricky, I know you dropped this. I got it for you, baby.
Over the years, it's been kind of peeling off, like, the stigma.
It's homegrown, baby. Just like you like it.
Because otherwise, I'd be stuck judging myself for my whole life. And when I got to the point where, okay, it's something that I chose, and it got me in a lot of trouble, but it actually also allowed me to do the things that I really wanted to do. And people like to say that I retired and I went and I smoked pot all the time. Yeah, I smoked a little pot when I retired, but I ended up literally like the opposite situation where I was at a yoga ashram where I wasn't eating meat, wasn't even having coffee or tea or caffeine or anything, or spicy food or anything. When I retired, I felt like I lived more in 3 months than I did the previous 27 years of my life. Just because the experience was so rich, because I was doing all these different things. And again, not condoning it, I'm just looking at what actually occurred. What actually occurred is I got a year off to travel the world. I found meditation, I found yoga, I found healing. And as you inhale, reach forward, up. And I don't think I would have found it if I hadn't taken that year off. Exhale, arms down. Inhale. I just saw that I love to help people as much or more than I enjoy playing football. Hands to the feet. And looking at it in that perspective, going back to play football made perfect sense. You can look at it as right or wrong, but it was more about building something from where I was. And not even talking about the public, but just inside of me, like, what is my self-image and who am I? And so it was more of like an inner journey for me of, okay, where am I going and what would I like to create? And so I saw, wow, going back to play football, it gives me the resources, it gives me the recognition, it gives me the things that I'm going to need to build the life that I'd like to have.
So you didn't come back because you needed money?
I didn't come back because I needed money, no. The story, the way that I heard was I came back because I owed the Dolphins the $8 million. But the judgment for the money was just to make a statement. I didn't think they'd ever come after the money. And so when I came back, it just disappeared. So the resolution was I finished my contract, so it disappeared.
In July 2005, Ricky returned to the Dolphins, served his 4-game suspension from his failed drug tests, then took the field under new Dolphins coach Nick Saban.
What I liked about him is he didn't have any preconceived notions or any judgments about me. He really gave me an opportunity to show him what I was all about. And I would have run through a wall for Nick.
He was making football look easy again. like so many times before, the only thing that could stop Ricky was himself.
Time now for us to go around the league. And again, our top story, Ricky Williams has lost his appeal to the NFL and has subsequently been suspended from football for 1 year for allegedly violating the league's substance abuse policy. The decision came down Tuesday afternoon. Apparently, the year-long suspension is a result of a fourth violation of the substance abuse policy.
At this point, I thought my whole football career is over. And I was, sitting there feeling sorry for myself. And then I realized, when I look at my life, I don't see it as a tragedy. And so if I keep thinking that it is, then I'm not being true to myself. Basically, I'm not going out like this.
Ricky signed with the CFL's Toronto Argonauts, where he averaged 4.8 yards per carry during an injury-riddled 2006 season. Midway through 2007, when his NFL suspension was over, Ricky rejoined the Dolphins for a Week 12 Monday night game in Pittsburgh. That night, he carried the ball 6 times, tore his pectoral muscle, and was lost for the rest of the season.
A couple weeks after, that's when Bill Parcells was hired.
Get him a pacifier and some hot chocolate and 2 marshmallows.
He walked in and he had this big binder and he just dropped it on the table. And he said, "This is our injuries that we've had all year. You guys that have been hurt or can't stay healthy, you guys aren't going to be here." And then he started talking about the Dolphins had a lot of off-the-field problems that year. And so he said, "You guys that are causing trouble and giving us headaches, you're not going to be here." And I'm thinking, okay, I just came off of a 1.5 year suspension, so that's strike 2. After the meeting, someone said, "Bill Parcells wants you to come up to his office to talk with him." So I went up to his office thinking he was going to tell me that, release me. And I sat down, and he had a big smile on his face, and he said, "I believe in you. I know that you can play for me."
I told you we flip over every rock we can. You all right, old man? Huh? You're not old. Like a spring chicken.
Ricky repaid Bill Parcells' trust over the next 3 seasons, gaining more than 3,000 yards from scrimmage and scoring 21 touchdowns. For some, that didn't matter. They'd always think of him simply as a mercurial spirit. But the facts remain. After 11 years in pro football, Ricky Williams was still a running back whose praises were worth singing.
Hey, Rick, I looked up to you when I was in high school, man. Keep it up. That's the reason why I wear 34, baby.
Coming.
When I was a kid, I loved that movie, Clash of the Titans, the old one, where he had a mission and he was going through and his parents or the gods would give him weapons or tools to use. And I feel like as I've been on my journey, I found yoga, which really helped me learn to relax without having to use marijuana. And then I came across this energy healing and meditation practice, and I was like, wow, this is great. Wherever I was in life, something else would come along and help me go to the next step.
And you don't smoke pot anymore?
I don't smoke pot anymore.
You don't use any drugs?
And no, I don't. And again, it's not because pot is bad. It's what I was talking about. It's, I just got clear why I was smoking marijuana. And then things kind of fell into place in my life where I found different ways to get what I was getting from the marijuana. Clarity is the right word. I was getting clarity that way. It was inferior clarity, but it was more clear than I was before I smoked. See, it's clarity with side effects.
Ricky, what'd you think of the Marcus Aurelius talk last night? Talking about Marcus Aurelius' philosophy.
After he became a free agent in 2011, Ricky Williams signed in Baltimore. Whereas it had everywhere on his journey, enlightenment followed.
I think about Ricky, he's pretty tough. He seems like he's very smart, likes football. Ooh, that felt kind of solid.
after rushing for more than 4,000 yards in high school and another 6,500 in college. Ricky became only the 26th player in history to rush for 10,000 NFL yards.
Ricky got 10,000 career yards.
The milestone was part of one of the most significant seasons of Ricky's football life. A year that ended with a last-second loss to New England in the AFC Championship.
We came for the exit physicals the next day to say goodbye, and everyone was already excited about the next year. And I'd never seen that before. And so it was contagious. So I was getting ready. I was in my mind, I was thinking of my training regimen and all the things that I really wanted to do. And so when I got a text message from Bill Parcells, I shared with him how excited I was about playing football next year. Kind of shocked me, his reply. It just kind of snapped me out of it and got me looking at things differently. And it got me looking at, okay, what is he talking about? What other ways can I contribute?
The next place used to be used for medical studies. And they have a big auditorium upstairs.
Yeah.
Where they made autopsies in front of the medical students.
People have this idea of what success is in football based on stats, championships. But my personal idea of success is different. For me, success is a new adventure, acquiring new knowledge. To a certain extent, I allowed the first half of my football career to stunt that part of my growth as a human being. And as Scott says, that there's a lot of things that I really would like to be doing. And what am I waiting for? I've heard several football players tell me the most difficult time in their life was the first year after they retired. And so I knew that there was a transition coming. And I had this friend call me, and she said, I found this really cool stuff that is right up your alley, and you'll really like it. So I called and signed up for the class. The way I described the feeling of being in that first class was for the first time in my life, I felt like I had permission to be myself. One of the things I noticed about myself is if I'm around people and I think that they won't understand me, then I won't say anything. It's like Access showed up the perfect time to really help my transition. I retired in February and I was teaching classes in April. I mean, if you look at most of our definitions of ourselves, it's based on something that's wrong with us. Yeah. It's really just using everything I had learned along my journey to help other people, which for me was perfect.
Among everything else he'd gathered over the years, Ricky had also picked up a camera, a tool that 1 year after his retirement gave him a front-row seat at a clash of the Titans.
I mean, it was really fitting closure to be able to shoot the Super Bowl in New Orleans. I remember, the line to get into the stadium and the police officers, the security guards, the people walking, hey, baby, it's good to have you back, and just really, really showed a lot of love, and I felt very good. And I had a chance to go on the sideline and talk to my teammates.
Hey, look at you, looking great, man. You got the gear on and everything. I love it.
I got a job.
Yeah, why not? It's good to have a job.
I got paid in the Super Bowl.
First year. You're like Rookie of the Year then. In photography. Thank you very much. You're a part of this. I know you know this. You're a part of this team, this foundation, man. That's the way it works.
I was happy for them because I knew how hard they worked. I knew how much they wanted. I knew how much they deserved it. And when the game was over and they won, I was happy for them. And there wasn't 1 ounce of regret or anything.
The Baltimore Ravens are Super Bowl champions!
I got so much joy just being able to share in their joy.
After retiring from the NFL, Ricky Williams moved back to Austin, Texas, with his wife Kristen and their 3 children. In the evenings, he played flag football in the park. By day, the rookie who had once felt uncomfortable being interviewed without his helmet on got a job as a studio analyst for Texas Longhorns games.
Talk about, this is a play we're going to call.
Still, he wanted more football.
Gino coming in here, a great game plan.
On one hand, I told myself I would never become a coach. It just seemed too stereotypical. And at the same time, I realized that I love the game of football. I love inspiring people. And it just seemed like the perfect fit. I could go into coaching, especially at the collegiate level, and really enjoy myself and really affect a change in a lot of young men's lives.
Ricky applied for an internship program run by the NFL Players Association for former players interested in a career in coaching. As part of the application process, he needed 3 letters of recommendation, which he received from one of his Texas coaches, Mack Brown, Jeff Ireland, a GM during Ricky's time in Miami, and one of Ricky's former NFL coaches, no longer in the NFL.
Hit.
Ricky was accepted into the coaching program, and in the summer of 2013, began mentoring the running backs.
Keep your head up.
At the University of the Incarnate Word in San Antonio, Texas.
Depending on how he plays you, but if you attack him, he's got to back up a little bit.
He helped the 5-year-old football program to its first ever winning record, and when the season was over, was invited to be the defensive coordinator of a fledgling Chinese football team, preparing for the first games it would ever play outside of China.
Ask him again.
We
had these kids for 4 weeks total. They had 4 weeks of football, and then they're playing in an international tournament. I mean, that's 4 weachs ever. That way. And most of these kids had never even seen a football game.
You can't hurt this. I'm a machine, John.
So the thought process was when we were doing training camp in Shanghai, every day I would show them a couple of NFL's greatest 100 players, just so they can get a sense of what the game was about and the way the game should be played.
Let's go.
For me, I said, okay, a successful trip is if they get back on the plane and they still want to play football. Because I knew it was going to be difficult. I knew they were going to be out-experienced, outsized, out-physicalized, out-everything.
Defensive lineman number 93.
You ready?
Yeah. Francisco Jorge Krause.
Ready? Yeah. You're going to play today, right? Yeah. Okay, good. And what I loved about our kids is they had this pride, and they just kept on plugging, kept on working.
Garcia looking to throw, going to his right side. Intercepted by number 24 of the Chinese defense. Flying Wei Chen on the interception. Excellent break on the ball.
China played 4 games during its first appearance at the World University Games, surrendering 197 points and scoring 0. But it didn't matter. The kids were hooked. At one time, the only people with images of Ricky Williams were in San Diego, then also in Texas, New Orleans, and on across the U.S.
All right.
Now, people all over the globe have images of him. And though his journey is far from over, there is at least one conclusion it has already revealed. Whether you're an artist, an athlete, or a king, not before you're comfortable in your own skin can you truly feel at home in the world.
Everywhere you go, there's a different relationship that exists. And depending on, their fondest memory of you, most people hold on so tightly to their fondest memory, they don't usually let you be anything greater than that. And that's one of the things that I think I allowed myself to be a victim of earlier in my career. And what I learned as I got older is I decide what it's like for me, not other people. You can be whatever you'd like to be. You just got to choose it. Minor league baseball, big time college football, traveling the world, meditating in a cave in the Himalayas, like all these different me's are really just me. And it's been very interesting for me to find a way to see how I can bring it all to the table and not excluding what I was as a football player, but actually allowing that to be a part of who I am. And ever since I've looked at it that way, my life just keeps getting better and better and better.